Pack Lapadat. And look who's back. Look who's back, Playboy. The linchpin.
In a
The
minute.
hangman's back. Friggin' we got some news, man. We got Sheffield roster being reshuffled, and we're getting a lot out of this reshuffling. Look, we have so many good battles out there. You reshuffle the deck. I ain't mad at some of these battles that have come together for us. We'll talk about that in a stitch. Girl Power just happened, and some surprising results. First off, I get the Shitco absolutely kicked the shit out of everybody else in the world. Um, Absolutely staggering total at a very low body weight. We'll get into that in a second, but that is a warning sign for everybody in the future and what that might bring. And I booked her for next week. And then also Sarah Naldi, Jad Jacob having a good old fashioned dust up. Surprising results there. We'll get into and Nike, Nike, my man. I'm surprised you're not wearing a Nike polo shirt right now, trying to get something going. Trying to now that they're paying attention.
Just waiting for that sponsorship money to come through, you know?
We got to start. We got to start. But Nike is involved now, so it's interesting. But so we got some topics to talk about. Let's roll this back a second here. So we all know now, Bob declined, and and I just finished a podcast with Ade, more than happy to step in. And I had mentioned to Ade, look, I Bob's a fantastic lifter. He wants to go full 120 and gain some weight. He's not interested in cutting to 105. So cutting to 105, a battle with him and Ashton at Sheffield would have been amazing. But Bob does not want to cut to battle Ashton. Bob wants to gain to battle Rondell. So even if he was going to appear at Sheffield, it was more than likely going to be 120. And if he's going as a 120, it's great to see Bob shift big weights, but it's not quite like I've always said this. I love a head to head. I want my head to head battles. Seeing exhibition lifts, like one guy, one girl just doing their thing, seeing how far they can take it, that's good. It's good. I have nothing against that because they're fighting against history, extend the world record. It's still good. But there's nothing like a good old fashioned head to head. And if Bob was coming as a 120, we weren't going to get that head to head. Now, Bob exits and Ade enters. And if you like head to heads, oh my goodness. This is, Rory, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the greatest battle the 83 kilo class has ever seen?
I think so. I think we've had some really good head-to-heads in the 83s before, but usually when we've had these fantastic battles in the 83s, it's been two guys going, sort of like blow for blow in that weight class.
Yeah,
Here, I think this is the first time that we've had like really more than two people who are properly in contention.
100%. John Hack versus Gibbs. It was two guys. Gibbs versus Russell, the rivalry, two guys. And then when it was Russ previously, he had a spread. There was fantastic lifters, but they were spread beneath and they were fighting amongst each other. They weren't really overly threatening Russ. Even when we thought there was glimpses of it, with the Sean Noriega hype, it didn't pan out and it ended up being Russ and the rest of the people scrapping it out. In this situation, well, Russ is back. Russ is back, but the rest of the world has leveled up. And I had Ade on and was discussing how entering 2024, Russell Orhe was like Return of the King, hit 860 at US Nationals, and it appeared was still going to continue with these 20 kilo spreads and winning comfortably, and the rest of the world was going to be behind. Exiting 2024, Lade's got the world record. Jurin's upset Russ at the World Championships. Joe Boringston hit 865. He's 21, by the way. And then New Zealand's own fellow Kiwi, 845.5 at the Nationals. I mean, it's freaking crazy. How is this that everybody seems to be leveling up all at the same time in the 83 kilo class right now?
I think part of it is that when you see somebody else succeed, it sort of breaks a barrier, right? And we've seen this in sports before, right? Like leading into the first time somebody ran a 4 minute mile, it seemed like that was like a hard barrier and nobody could do it. As soon as the first person did it, like 6 other people did it in the 2 years immediately afterwards, right? And now, like, I don't want to say it's blasé, it's still an incredibly impressive achievement, but like, it's not even particularly noteworthy for somebody to break a 4 minute mile now. And I
I did
think
it
we're
this
seeing
morning.
something. Oh, you did it this morning? Ah, that's great. You should put that on Strava. I hear
No
that's
biggie.
the cool news.
Won't even post about it. No big.
Yeah,
Blase
not
for me.
worth posting about, right? And I think we're seeing something similar, and we even see this within countries to an extent, right? It's like, you have a French open world champion, and suddenly you have a flood of French lifters leveling up. You see an 83 kilo lifter break 860. You see a flood of 83 kilo lifters like bringing themselves to the next tier, and I think we're going to see that in other places as well, right? Like, so say if we look at the 66 kilo men and we have a whole bunch of men between sort of 710 and 717, what I expect is that at some point we're going to see a 66 kilo lifter break that and go 725, 730. And then immediately after that, we're going to see 3 other people do the same thing.
Well, so for the 66s, obviously you're aware Shell's coming down. We're going to be a lot
Yeah.
more past 720, it appears. I mean, it's not done. And the thing is, his body weight's pretty freaking low. Like, Henna cuts from 69 kilos and change. Shell is like 70 kilos and change. He's got maybe a kilo to go. And that's if he just cuts the exact same as Penna. Shell has been cutting for years, decades. Like he knows how much water he can cut. This is not his first go. He's got Kedrick assisting him on this. So he's got like the best in the world in terms of the guidance he's going to have for the cut. He's looking like he might be the first 66. And this is crazy to even say it. I feel weird even saying it. He might be the first 66 to do 800 kilos. That's insane.
I mean, yeah, like he could be. His best total is 815. He's dropping like a reasonable amount of body weight, right? Like he's going from 74 to 66. That's quite a long way to go. Um, in saying that, the world record total at 66 is give me one moment. I'll double check that before I say it out loud. I mean, the world record total is 710.5.
Well, did you see
That doesn't seem
Shell
right.
at 70 kilos body weight did 825 in the gym though? I can send it to you.
I mean, like I have seen that. We have also seen plenty of other lifters put up really good gym performances and then struggle to do
Fair,
them on comp day. And like he
fair.
is still 4 kilos overweight. You know, that's still 7-8% of his body weight that he has to lose, right? Like that's still a reasonably dramatic amount of weight. And so like I don't want to discount that. And realistically, he could lose 80 kilos off his total and still wipe the floor with some of these other men, which would be obscene. And so like I'm definitely not discounting that, but I'm not going to look at an 825 total in the gym at 70 kilos and then just assume that he can do 825 at 66 3 months from now.
Yeah, I was just thinking like, and again, we're getting into some funky math that doesn't always work out, but if he drops a kilo body weight, does he drop 25 kilos off his total and he's at 800 instead of 825? But I don't know. We'll see what the heck happens. It all has to unravel. It's exciting anyways. But looking at the 83s, back to 83s for a second here, to your point. Yeah, when somebody comes along, once Shell drops down to 66, and it's going to be like a big splash that's going to create tsunamis all over. But it'll right itself, and a bunch of other 66s are now going to start chasing 800 kilos if he hits that. If he does hit 800 kilos, that'll become the new mark for everybody is chasing 800 kilos when you're 66. And when you're 74 like your Perk has hit 851. Yeah. Yeah, you're mid 800s and 800 or you know what I mean? In 83s, which leads me to I just had Ade earlier, and by the time this podcast drops, the Ade podcast will have dropped. Ade is saying, I'm chasing 900 kilos. That's where I'm running to. If these guys at Sheffield are not chasing 900 kilos, we're not running parallel. I'm not even looking at it. I'm looking ahead. And that's where, I know Gavin just hit 900 as a 93, but that's how quickly things are changing. 93s hitting 900? No, 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 no. 83s hit 900.
Yeah, so like just running off a couple of Ade's recent totals in November of 2023, so just less than a year ago, he hit 800 for the first time. In March of this year, so what is that, like 7 months ago, he hit 825. So that was 25 kilos in like 4 months. In September of this year, he hit 861. So that's another 36 kilograms in like 6 more months. So we're looking at another 6 months on top of that. Like repeating that performance, we're looking at 890. Like if he can put that same amount again on his total in the same amount of time, but we're talking 890. Now, usually what we see is that amount sort of like goes down and down over time. But he's a young man. His trajectory is really, really good. Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
I don't know what to say. Like I can't look at a crystal ball and tell you what he's going to total in January. But if he does that again, it'll be 895 plus, which is wild.
Yeah. In him saying 900, he was saying, look, it might not be Sheffield, but it might be Worlds. It might be like eight. He said 225 in 2025. I'm looking for 900. And everybody else should be, if you want to be running alongside me and be my rival, that's where you got to be looking. As a matter of fact, Joe Bornstein messaged him and said, let's race to 900. And Joe Bornstein's hit 865 and done just as crazy a jumps with this total as well. So we'll see what happens in 2025. Now, looking at the Sheffield lineup, in your mind, well, first off, before I answer this, I don't want to skip past. Let's talk about Tim Monagatti for 1 second. Man, I had Delaney Wallace on the podcast, and he was like, why did Tim ever drop down to 74? 840. He's so much better now than he was before. It's insane. And he's not even filled out 83 kilos. Now, I would tell Delaney, looking at somebody's like being a world champion in two different weight classes is insanely difficult because the weight classes in our sport are huge. But even though Tim wasn't a world champion in two different weight classes, he's a world's medalist in two different weight classes. To me, I think the drop down for that alone is fantastic. I mean, that's crazy. To be honest, like I've won medals at world championships in two different weight classes. That's so I think it was worth it. And he's still young. He could. It's not like he's stagnated his growth, but 845.5. That's
Yeah, and he was
incredible.
only like 80 kilos when he did it, right?
Yeah, it's insane. What's he going to do when he's cutting to 83?
Yes, I actually think that dropping down and coming back up has been really good for Tim, right? Like his best total at 83 before he cut down and came back up again was I think it was 800 just off the top of my head. And then
I
he
think he
went
did
down.
810.
Sorry, no, you're right.
Yeah.
It was 810, which is like respectable. But we're also
Mm.
talking about now in the 83s regularly hitting over 840 and occasionally touching 860. But he went down. He came second in the world. He beat Taylor Atwood head to head at the World Championships at 74. Right? Like I think people forget that because like Kalle Johansson sort of stole the show a little bit that day. I think people forget that two people beat Taylor that day and one of them was Tim Monagatti, right? And so
Yeah,
like
that,
that's
that alone is worth dropping to 74, by the way.
right. Like Taylor Atwood is debatably one of the best powerlifters alive today.
Sure.
And Tim dropped a weight class and beat him head to head, right? So it's really hard to argue with that, right? Like he did it, he got the results, and now he wants to chase something different. So yeah, and his performance, at least in training, is looking really really good. So that's a good sign.
mean, I'm trying to remember where I heard this from, but did he say in a video that by the time he gets to Sheffield and he's fully enlarged himself to be an 83, he's anticipating 870?
I haven't heard him say that, but I would not be surprised.
Because it doesn't look at that's not crazy. He did 845.5 as an 80 kilo lifter,
Yep.
and he looked good doing it.
Yep. Like there's a few things that went into that won't he won't have the advantage of at Sheffield. Like that was in New Zealand. It wasn't in his hometown. He did still have to fly for it. But that's same time zone, same food availability, like all of those things. But Tim's also really well practiced at all of those things now, right?
Yeah.
Like this is very far from his first rodeo. Like he has a plan. He knows what he's doing. Like he doesn't lose that much from travel anymore just because he's practiced at it.
Now that's one thing that Eddie does not have. And I brought that up to Eddie. Russ has been around forever and been in so many of these type of showdowns, multiple worlds. Jern's been around forever, been in so many world championships, multiple showdowns. Tim battle tested, like you said, but Ade has not. Ade literally is like a star that just emerged out of nowhere, and he earned his way through to Sheffield at the Western Europeans. So it's not like he had a battle there either when he broke the world record. Ade is relatively unbattle tested. And that'll be interesting. Now, he said, like you would expect, he's not shy from it. He thinks he'll adapt well. He's not the type to get overcome. But having never been in a real major battle of significance where the whole powerlifting community is watching, and not only is it happening with maybe the biggest star we have with Russell Orhe, plus a reigning champion in Germans, throwing Tim Madigatti, not an all battle tested big name guys, but it's happening at Sheffield, which is like no other meet you can have.
Yeah, like it's all very well to say that you sort of don't get overcome when you've never been in a position for that to happen before, right? And like it's entirely possible that he's correct. It's entirely possible that he's going to get there and really struggle, right? Like so, I've got his open powerlifting here in front of me, and he's done a few international meets. He did the World Championships in 2021 in Sweden. If you recall, that was the World Championships where there was only like six or eight countries there because of the COVID lockdowns. He did another one. He did European Classic also in 2021, also in Sweden. And then he had Western Europeans in Malta. Like he's done a few internationals, but like he hasn't done something like this. I mean, to be fair, before like 3 years ago, no one had done something like this. Like this is still a relatively new format.
Was he a junior when he did Worlds previously?
Yeah, so he came second at the Junior World Championships that year.
Yeah, that's a different animal. Junior Worlds is great for carving your teeth, international standards, etc. But entering the open, that's a whole nother. You lift in the open against the open lifters. That's a whole nother deal.
And it takes a
That's a
while to
whole.
come up to speed, right? Like we can use Tim as an example because like I think Tim won Junior World Championships. I think it was 2018, and it was probably 2023 before he was like fully up to speed in the opens. Like he was good before that, but it was like 4 World Championships later that he was like properly up to speed as an open lifter. So yeah, it's not his first year in the open. He was an open lifter last year, but Western Euros is just like not the biggest competition. It doesn't have the deepest talent.
Fact. Now, how important was it for his total to be recognized as a world record now? That literally changed everything and got him into Sheffield. That went back and forth. We talked about it as well. That went back and forth so many times. He signed up to Westerns purely to hunt that world record. Was told it wouldn't be a world record. And he's like, do I do Commonwealths and hunt the world record? Or do I stay doing Western Euros? He's like, I'll stay doing Western Euros. Does Western Euros live at the event. They call it a world record. He's like, oh my God, is that a world record? Afterwards gets told, no, that was a mistake. They shouldn't have. And then a huge pushback by the community. Yes, it is a world record. So we've gone back and forth several times. And he's like, it'd be cool to have a world record, but I intend to hit it anyways at some point. Blah, blah, blah. If I don't have it, I'm fine. I'm at peace with it. Little did he know if that was or wasn't a world record meant Sheffield or not Sheffield. If he knew that, in the fact that it became a world record, here we are. Now he's in the middle of it. I mean, this close. The door that opened up and to be involved in the greatest 83 battle. Now, who do you think is the favorite going into Sheffield for the 83s?
Are you asking who I think is like the fan favorite, or who do I think is most likely to win?
Let's get both. That's an interesting. And this can change because you haven't seen their training. By the time January rolls around, we'll have a real preview show. But just as it stands now,
Yeah, look, it's 3 months away. A lot can happen in 3 months, right? Um, Look, I think the fan favorite is probably Russell. He has a huge social media following. He has a social media following that transcends the boundaries of powerlifting, right? Like it's not even just powerlifters that know him. He's just like famous, right? And so I think fan favorite wise, I think Russell Orhe is like probably like far and away the person who's going to get like the most fan support. Now, as for who I think is most likely to win, I think that's a much harder question. But if I was going to pick someone, I would probably say Durrance. Um, I think he has a history of being a little bit inconsistent at high level competitions, but all of his recent meets, his last like 3 or 4 now recent meets, he's put together really good performances back to back, and I think that's a good sign that he may have overcome that sort of inconsistency. He's the reigning world champion, and that's really hard to look past. He is battle tested. He has done so many meets at a high level and gone head to head with the best lifters. And he has the advantage of it being not exactly in his hometown, but like in his home country. Like to my earlier point, the travel, the jet lag, the food availability, like all of these things, they're all just his home turf. So for those reasons, I think Durrance is most likely to win. And like if I was gonna gamble on this, which I'm not going to, I would say I would put my money on Durrance.
and you mentioned Jurens having readied the ship in the last few performances. I had Jurens and Christian Nyandokun, the British lifter who's also a coach, is now coaching Jurens, and they Jurens credits the leveling out anyways because Jurens was always capable. He had good performances, but now he has leveled up like holy smokes. A whole like at the silent worker meet just a week after his massive win against Russ. In I can only imagine the emotional high, how little he slept. And then traveling again on top of that week in between was far from a rest. And he hit 852 and a half. It's total went up again and broke into the
Yep.
850s. So where's German's at? I don't know. But he could even at his age, he's putting on kilos.
Yeah. Look, 9 for 9 day from Durrance 3 months from now. Are we talking mid 860s or higher? Like maybe. And
Yeah,
I like I
maybe.
like I know we were talking about like 890 or 900 for Ade, and I suspect that this is not the meet for it for a number of reasons. Which is not to say that there won't be that meet one day in the future. I just suspect this is not the meet for it. Um, and like yeah, that would be phenomenal from Durrance, and I think he's capable of it.
Now, Ade said something interesting on the podcast. I asked him if, because Ade's probably going to be the biggest deadlifter out of these guys. And if it comes down to it, and you got the final pull, and to win the battle of the 83s, you load up a certain weight. But the podium overall, you have to load up more. Now, to win the battle of the 83s, which is the biggest battle, I mean, look at who we're talking about with Jurens, Russ, Tim, and how heavily hyped this is. To win that battle would be monstrous. But would you risk loading more on your final pull and potentially missing to hit the podium? What's your priority level? And Ade said, I'm loading up more and going for the podium. In that, I don't know, because look what beating Russ can do for you at a place like Sheffield. Look what beating the reigning world champion can do for you, Tim. Like, it's an amazing battle. That was interesting to me for a young man. But what do you think?
I don't know if the podium is going to be attainable for any of the 83s. Like
In
if
this
we
scenario, you're right. Go ahead, but then we'll double back to that scenario because it's interesting. But go ahead, though.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the So Sheffield is scored as percentage of the world record total, right? So they snapshot the world record totals, so it doesn't move as people break the record. They snapshot the world record totals, and then the percentage that you beat it by, that is your or your percentage out of that world record, that's your score. And the world record total in this, particularly in the 66 kilo class, is proportionately really low. Like, it's not
Mm.
to say that it's easy, right? It's a world record for a reason. But like, if you sort of like extrapolate what a performance of 840-ish at 74 looks like, if you extrapolate what a performance of sort of 865 at 83 looks like, at 900 at 93, what all of those look like, you get way higher than the 710 or 715 that it is at 66, right? Like it air quotes, it should be more like 760 or 770 or something, right? And Shell, if no one else, is probably looking really good to come in quite a bit higher than that world record total. But I also suspect that some of the other 66ers maybe in that position as well. And in particular, I'm thinking of
Well,
Kasim Sand. Yeah.
Kasim saying the reigning world champ. In now again in training. To your point about training, you don't know how much they cut. Blah blah blah. He had a phenomenal SBD day, and I think he did like 735, 740 around that range. Kasim Sand's leveling up. For
Yeah.
a while there, like he broke the world record back in the day at the Asian Championships, but injuries plagued him greatly. And now I mean, he won the battle of 66s, which was phenomenal. And at Sheffield, I wouldn't be surprised if he does 730 to 740.
Yeah, so if he
But
comes in at 740, that's breaking the world record total by about 5%, which would mean that a 83 would need a total 904 to match
yeah,
that. Like, I just don't see that happening. Do you see that happening?
no. Eh, well, okay, hang on. So you have Shell, Kasim Sand.
Yeah.
Who else is going to be the podium after that? That'll push off at A. In this
Oh,
case that I brought up with that A, insert whatever name from the 83s you want. But who else would? Because we have, I mean, it depends. What if Jesus is 100%? How much does he have to add though?
look, for let's use 105% as the benchmark again. Jesus would need to go 1152, 52.5 times 1.05. Yeah, so Jesus would have to go about 1210 to be in that range.
It's
1210.
so, yeah, damn. I mean, Ashton's not going to push it like that. Freaking, yeah, man. Well, but what if the drop off after the 66s is significant?
I mean, yeah,
Maybe
it could be.
maybe third place is up for grabs. It's just going to be a significant drop after second. First and second are just locked up by the 66s.
Yeah, so assuming that Kasim Sand puts together a decent total and uh, Shell doesn't lose 100 kilos off his total dropping a weight class, like I think the 66s are just going to be so far away. And to be honest, that record is sort of like ready to be broken, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
it's it's a couple of years old now, and it's sort of like I mentioned, a little bit like artificially low. Um, like maybe Austin if he has another
Oh yeah, yeah,
truly
that's
amazing
true.
day.
Yeah, no, how can we forget? Austin is, I mean, the world record in 74 is 830 something, like 36 or whatever.
836, yeah.
Yeah. And Austin has hit 851. He's probably capable of, in the 850s, maybe 860. It's
Yeah,
probably
let's go
Austin, huh?
855 just for the sake of argument. 855 would get him 1.022%. Sorry, 102.2%.
Okay. Well, I mean, Ade and them, maybe Ade and them are could bump. perk if they, I don't know, 2%
I,
increase,
yeah. I mean, what's
2% on 861.
so 2.2% on 861 is about 880.
You know what? Maybe Ade's got to make that decision for third by bumping perk.
God, maybe I will say I'm just looking at Ade's open powerlifting. He misses a lot of deadlifts.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah. In his last meet, he missed his second and then bumped up his third and got it. So he didn't end up getting penalized as a result of that. But he's missed his third deadlift in literally half of the competitions that he's ever been in. He misses his second deadlift fairly often as well, by the looks of it, which is like not a great sign.
So then here we are. Let me pose you the question then. Ooh, this makes my question even better, Rory. So we've established he'll be within shot of third if he could bump perk. 880-ish, that's on the table for him. Now, his deadlift is not a reliable weapon. The more he loads, obviously, the more likely he is to miss. If you were him, do you shoot for the battle of the 83s if it's lighter? Or do you tempt fate, add even 5 more kilos, and go for a podium and try to bump perk? What do you think you should be eyes on the prize for?
Look, the money gap between coming fourth and coming third is not very much, right? It's £1,500, which in the scale of Sheffield money is, that's not a life changing amount of money. It's not insignificant, but it's not going to change your life.
No.
But there is a £5,000 bonus for breaking a world record, deadlift or total, or squat or bench. But we're talking about deadlift and total here. So I would be really tempted. If I was in that position, I would probably go forget about third, forget about the overall podium, go for the win in the 83, which will probably also be a total world record and may also be
Sure.
a deadlift world record. And so that would probably mean sort of fourth or fifth bonus prize money for breaking the world record total. And then you can walk around telling everybody that you beat Durans and Russell Orhe and Tim Monagatti head to head.
100%. If it's cash, it's more money for the total world record, and he'll probably need that last deadlift to land for that total world record. And to win the battle of the 83s, that's where I would land. That's what I would shoot for. Now, I wonder what the other 83s would do. And at a gambling like that, when we do the preview show and we start thinking about this, now Ade might change. He might listen to this and be like, you know what? These guys are talking a lot of sense right now. But if he's going in with that mentality, he's more vulnerable to lose the battle of the 83s.
Yep.
I get it. He's like, look, if I get third place, I beat them anyways. Fair, but you could lose to them while shooting for third and
Yep.
missing
Yeah,
is the
you
problem.
could shoot for third and then miss. And if you miss, we've already established that this is a high risk maneuver. You miss third place, you potentially also miss fourth or fifth place, right? Like you could be taking several jumps.
Yeah.
You probably missed the world record total. You probably missed the win in the 83s. You probably missed the deadlift world record. That's a lot of marbles for one lift.
Let me take a look at what the deadlift world record is because I'm sure Inahoro has it, but I forget where he left it.
At 83, it is 380.
Okay, you know what? Ade said he thinks he could do that much. So maybe he could do 380.5. He thinks Ade's like, I could probably do 380. I'm not gonna, he's like, Inahoro took 410 or no, sorry, 405 off the ground. He's like, I can't do 405 off the ground. But Inahoro lobs that Hail Mary and his deadlift is probably more than we've seen. He just freaking, you know, barely didn't lock out 385 and he could do more, but he
I
loads
was
up
going
to
to say
win.
that is still another 26 kilograms or something on Ade's best deadlift, but that was a 28 kilo PB when he hit it. So like maybe that's possible.
The thing is, Ade's last deadlift at Westerns, if you watch that, dude, he smokes it. Smokes it.
Yeah, but he missed 347.5 immediately before that.
But it wasn't a miss. I forget why. I forget now. I forget what it was, a technical thing that was silly. A bobble, a speed bobble, or something like that. Like to your point, you can't miss like this in Sheffield, like technical or otherwise. But strength, just strength wise, let's just talk strength wise, like where his top end strength is. I do think 380 is not crazy because everyone was mentioning after he hit 360, they're like, oh my god, you had like 10 kilos in there. But he wanted to solidify the world record, like he did the right call for sure. But so, anyways,
Yeah, look, being really strong is obviously a massive advantage for powerlifting, but you have to actually make attempts as well, right? Like it's not good enough to be the strongest person in the room anymore, particularly when also in that room is Russell, Durans, and Tim, right? Like you have to both be very, very strong, but also be able to execute on the day.
and this is where my man Ade has not been in these battles either.
That's right. Yeah,
Never.
that's right.
But and God bless. Junior Worlds in 2021. To your point, 2021 years ago, Worlds years ago is not like Worlds now. Junior Worlds in 2021, when we just got out of lockdowns or we were still in lockdowns, that Worlds, it's going to feel like night. And you want to compare that to Sheffield, it is not going to feel even close.
No.
It's not even going to be even a stitch close.
Yep. And I
So
tell you what, Durans is not going to put the wrong weight on the bar. Tim is not going to put the wrong weight on the bar. Like, is Ade? I don't. Maybe he will. I don't know. We don't know yet.
now he coaches himself. He will have a handler, but he is his own coach too.
Do we know who his handler is yet?
Yeah, he said, damn it, I forget. It's not Paul. Oh shit.
Paul.
No, it's
Okay.
Jason.
Oh, it's
He was
Jason.
in 2021 Worlds. What's his last name again? Oh gosh. Forget his last name now. Oh, he was the head coach. He's head coached Team Britain before at Worlds, though. He's good. He knows what
Okay.
he's doing.
Yes.
He's good.
Yep.
He's in good
Okay.
hands for that. However, like, he's got to Ade's gonna give him his priority one, priority two, priority three, like, different picks or whatever. It'll be interesting, man. I don't know. It's a total it makes it far more interesting throwing Ade in this battle of the 83s now, though. It would be awkward for these guys to battle it out. And it's a great battle, even if he wasn't in there. But the fact that it's Ade's world record they're going against and Ade's not there, it's always an awkward conversation. Well, Russell, he has to beat the world record by this much. Jurens has to beat whatever the conversation is during the event. And that guy's world record, that guy isn't there. It's like, why? Just naturally, when you're a viewer, you say, why isn't he here
Why isn't
if
that
it's
guy
his
there?
world
Yeah.
record? So at least it ties up that. Same thing with Carlina. That's why Carlina ended up coming in the first one. Now, let's move on. We got to always double back if we like, but let's move on to the women's side because the women's side also got a shake up. It also got a shake up that produced a 63 kilo battle. I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like this. This is the best possible battle you're going to get in 2025. I'd be shocked if you're going to get another one as good as this. Alba moves in, Alexis Jones moves out. It's not powerlifting related, I don't think. And so we don't need to dive into it then. It is what it is. She had to decline. And Alba Ballstrom, junior world champion, steps in. Now, let me lay the table out for you. Megan Scanlon, who's a lot like Jurens, late bloomer, 36 years old, won the Open World Championship. Her total 552.5. And she is now the undisputed world champion in the 63s. Alba was there. Alba Bostrom didn't have the greatest of days. Month and a half later, wins the junior world championship 63s with 554. Alba, just 22 years old, out totals Megan Scanlon in the open. Now things are getting a little disputed. Now people are starting to raise questions. Alba, her dominance at Junior Worlds, she got world's best lifter at Junior Worlds. And I mean, I've said this at nauseum. I'll just say it one more time, real quick here. Sorry if you guys have heard this enough, but As a 63, she out-totaled the 69s, out-totaled the 76s, out-totaled the 84s, and would have podiumed at the 84 pluses. That's how dominant a performance Alba was winning it. I get it. Jessica Espinal in the 47s broke the open 47 kilo world record. And Jess would have been a solid pick as well for Sheffield. Fantastic lifter in Jess, and she'll have her day. We have seen Tiff and Jess battle twice at Worlds, and Turbo Tiff is a 4-time open world champion in the 47s. That would be a direct head to head. And I would like to see it, and I can't wait to see it again. But we have seen it twice, and Tiff is as solid as they come a world champ. It's been Tiff for years now. But in the 63s, we got a dispute that needs to be settled because Megan just got out totaled by a junior world champ. And now Leah Bavois is returning. And Leah Bavois, if you're wondering, has totaled 556.5. So the reigning world champ has Alba, who out totaled her, and Leah, who has a bigger total at 63. And let me add something else. Leah totaled 585 at only 66.4 kilos body weight. That is just a stitch more of a water cut for her. She can cut 3 kilos of water. That's 0.4. She drops zero point 0.4 body weight. How much is that total going to come down? 585. And she's looking for redemption because she didn't have the day she wanted at Worlds. Her total went down. She's capable of far more. So Leah's back, and she's a 2-weight class world champion. Here's another thing, another little sprinkle to make the story even better. Megan Scanlon won the 2022 World Championships because Leah missed weight and couldn't lift at it. And those two great lifters, multiple time world champions, have circled each other, but never rumbled. We've never seen that showdown. We could have had it a couple times, but have never seen it. 2 all-time greats in the same era, same weight class, but haven't rumbled yet. Has to happen. Now you sprinkle Alba Bostrom in there, who did what she did at Junior Worlds and has everybody excited. This is easy selling, right? It's easy selling. And while I love Jess and think Turbo Tiff and Jess for the 3rd time would be great, the storyline on the 63s is just, if you don't strike while the iron's hot, to have a 3-headed showdown like that, it's so rare to have a 3-headed showdown with ladies that close and with the whole background story I just gave you. It's so rare to have that. You have to strike while the iron's hot and make it happen. We are going to have Turbo Tiff and Jess probably for the next however many years running parallel beside each other. I mean, you still want to strike it while the iron's hot with them too, but this is a special moment where it's almost like the perfect storm. You have 3 hurricanes coming at each other, and flip the coin, all 3 of them can win. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And like one thing that I will point out, we said a couple of times when we were talking about ADA that of course Junior World Championships not the same as Open World Championships, and then we've come in and we've said, hey, Alba won the Junior World Championships with this total. I will also point out that she's been to the Open World Championships. She came 4th at the Open World Championships at 22 years old, right? Like this is not like she is new to this. Like she's done this before. She came 2nd at the first at the bench press world championships as an open when she was 19, right? Like
Teenager, yeah.
She was a teenager and she won the open bench press world championships. Like, so yes, she is young. She's in the juniors. But like she is not fresh out of the juniors into the opens, right? Like she has been doing this for years. She's been traveling to do this for years. She's battle tested in a way that some other lifters coming out of the juniors for the first time are not. And so when we look at this 554 total from Junior Worlds, we're not going, oh, like what's going to happen when suddenly she has head-to-head competition. We know she's had head-to-head competition before. Like she's been in the room with these women doing this before. So like this is not her first rodeo. And the other reference point that I will throw out is that the world record total in this class is 557.5. So like we're talking just within a couple of kilos of the world record total here.
All of them, which is amazing. Yeah. Just like the 83s.
Within 5 kilos here.
Just like the 83s, all these ladies could be going over. and push each other over. And it's interesting how both Meg and Jurens, they're both parents in their mid 30s and in their mid 30s hitting all-time best performances and winning world championships.
Yeah. Powerlifting's like a pretty unique sport like that, right? If we look at many other sports, by the time people are in their mid 30s, like sometimes they've been washed for a decade by the time they're in their mid 30s. And we have people who are not only good, but are like continuing to get better.
What are your thoughts on Leah Bavla's return? Now, Leah is coming back from an injury, she was saying. She was talking about a glute injury, but her squat, she's starting to hit weights and she's got 3 months. I mean, there's plenty of time. It's starting to turn around now. We're starting to see her squat more. She's talking about, okay, I'm starting to feel good again. So for her to be turning around now and still have 3 months, plenty of time. If this was December or January, it's not a lot of time. We got plenty of time right now. We're still in October. Leah Bavla, 585 in her body weight. Yeah, she was in the 69s. Her body weight was 66.4. I mean, she wasn't far off. What do we anticipate here? Are you, I mean, still so early. And obviously, you don't have the benefit of seeing all the training she's about to do for the next 3 months. So this could either age like wine or age like milk. I'm setting you up. I got you. But for the point of conversation, what's your interest around this? What are you gleaning from this?
Yeah, look, Leah's squat is an absolute weapon, right? Like she still holds the squat world record at 63. That squat world, and sorry, she holds the squat world record at both 63 and 69 kilos currently at 213 and 225 respectively. That squat world record is I guess, a little stale now. That was set about this time in 2022. It's the oldest standing squat world record for the woman. And so for her to be starting to get back up to the weights that, she is happy with this far out from competition is probably a really good sign that she's at least expecting to come in and take a crack at that squat world record. And like she has, like you say, she has squatted 225 now. She did it over 63, but like you say, she was 66.4 kilos, right? Like, is that a drop into the 63s? Yeah, it's like about 5% of her body weight. But that is insignificant in comparison to the weights that some other people are dropping for sure. So, and there was a period where it seemed like she was struggling with her body weight. Like you mentioned, she missed weight once. But as far as I can tell, since that time, she has not had an issue with her body weight. Like that happened, and she learned her lesson, and she's been good ever since then, right? So I'm really excited to see what she squats. Actually, I'm really excited to see what she deadlifts as well. Like I think that is going to be obviously Betty holds the current world record there at 233. That was just set like 2 weeks ago or something. Like that was really recent. But I'm very excited to see what Leah has got cooking there. Of course, she's going to be a little way off the bench world record. The bench world record, I think, is 143 Corolla Gara. 143.5, sorry.
What is Alba's bench been at? Let me take a little peek. I know Alba has an absolutely monstrous bench on her.
Yeah, so at juniors, she benched 133.5. So
Yeah.
about 10 kilos off the world record total still. That's her junior world record, of course. But
Yeah.
about 10 kilos off the open world record.
Yeah, that's too much to ask, but a big bench, but not a bench like that. But yeah, if Leah can get her squat. Now, you were talking about how much of a weapon that squat is for Leah. At the Open World Championships, when she had a battle with Corolla Gara, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of discussion on the squat attempts when Team France was in there. And look at 2020 hindsight. They were looking at it as I'm not sure the projection they wanted. Let's take a look. I have her. He did 212.5 as an opener, jumped immediately to 225.5 as her second attempt, and then 225.5 as her third attempt. And she missed her second, missed her third. She retook it. Previous to that, she'd hit 225, and that was her biggest. And she did that at Sheffield when she put together that 585 total. And that's where people started having discussions. 225 was her previous personal best and led to a monstrous 585 total. To take a chip more than that on your second attempt is very much it's it's risk. It's risk like Ade we were talking about before. Because if you miss, and she did, now you're moving forward with just your opener. And like you had said, when your squat is that much of a weapon that you need, and you miss and go forward with just your opener and squat was your event, when you're going against someone like Carola Gara, it's almost a death sentence. Not quite, but you really got yourself backed into a corner. Now, I think her Team France. Now, Team France won't even be in on this. Who's going to be handling her? I don't know, but it wasn't Team France that handled her at Sheffield. I believe that was Ben Escrow. I'm not sure who's going to handle her this time at Sheffield, but that'll be a talking point. The handler could very much impact the if they do this properly. We'll know after squats where Lee is gonna a good chunk where Lee's gonna end up.
Yeah, I think there's this fallacy that particularly lifters who have a really strong subtotal do have. And that fallacy is that I must hit some particular number or I'm just going to be out of the competition, right? And I wonder if that's what Team France has done with Leah's Worlds performance, right? Like they've sent her opener at 212.5. And in their heads, they're saying something like, if we don't squat 230 or whatever the number is
Mm.
for our third attempt, like we have to squat 230 or we're just going to be out of the running. And that's actually almost backwards, right? With the reality is we must squat as much as we can squat without failing an attempt or we're going to be out of the running, right? Otherwise, you see what happens here is you take a 13 kilogram jump, you miss it, and then instead of being able to say hit 220 and have that extra 7.5 kilos, which could have been the difference between second and first, you end up with just 212.5, right? And so being a little bit more conservative, particularly at the beginning of the day, this applies for bench as well, but especially for squatters, being like a little bit more conservative at that end of the day can end up making a massive difference to what you end up needing to deadlift in order to win or break the record or whatever it is that you're aiming for on the day. And so, like you said, having a different handler there on the day could very much make the difference between, coming away second like she did at the World Championships and like winning the head-to-head battle.
Now, I'm going to tell you the results of the poll I put up about this Sheffield, who people thought was going to win. Before I do, I want your opinion, what you think the poll results would be. First, we'll do the 83s. Who do you think the community has as the favorite to win?
Mm. I'll walk you through what I'm thinking. So for the 83s, I could see it going two ways. I will pick at the end, but either it will be Russ because he has the biggest following and the most fans, or it will be Ade because people have really short memories and they'll see the 861 that he did just like last month and be like, well, that's the best total that we can see right now. Or that's the most recent total, so therefore it's going to be Ade. Um, I think between those, I think the recency bias is going to be stronger. So I'm going to say Ade probably won that poll.
It was Russ, but Ade was close. You were very close,
Okay.
actually. But it was Russ, because Russ is he's just so huge. In belief in him is huge. I mean, look at the guy's won a million times, so it's not misplaced. But it's Russ. Right now, it's Russ. Now let's see what happens as training goes. Russ isn't really showing a lot of his big lifts, and we're 3 months out, so the big lifts probably aren't even there with what we're really going to see from these fellas. As we get closer, we'll know a little more. I'll post the poll again, and let's see how it shifts. Now let's shift ourselves to the 63s, my friend. We got Meg, we got Alba, and we got Leah. Very
Cool.
similar. Leah is in a very similar position as Russ in terms of popularity. Meg, a very similar position as Jurens in terms of, like we said, kind of, mid 30s, has a family, yada yada. And then Alba, the junior superstar who's thrown on all these kilos onto her total, posted that poll. Who do you think was the favorite?
Very similar reasoning, but I'm going to say that I think Leah is going to win the poll. Like she is she's just like insanely popular, right? Especially in France, right? She's popular not in the way that other athletes are popular. She's popular in the way that like rock stars are popular in France, right? And so I'm going to say that Leah probably won that poll.
You would be surprised.
Oh, really?
Elba Bostrom. Elba Bostrom.
Really?
I mean, that is surprising because she's neither the open world champ, and people didn't see her at Worlds win. They saw her come in fourth. And that's obviously the viewership on open worlds is much greater than what she did at juniors when she put up her big performance. And then to your point about Leah being a freaking superstar, Elba Bostrom. And that, I don't know, maybe it's just a belief and momentum that she has.
Man, that's wild. I mean, like to be fair, her recent performance at Junior Worlds, that was a 29 kilogram PB total from
That's huge.
the previous competition, which was also a PB total, which before that was also a PB total, which before that was also a PB total, which before that was also a PB total. So like,
They see where they're
you know,
going. They see what's coming.
she's
Yeah.
on a bit of a run here.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's interesting to see. I don't know what's going to happen. All of this is going to shift. Leah Bavois in January starts posting up 225 kilo squats and her body weight's like 64 point whatever. I'll post a poll then and let me see what they're saying. Or Megan Scanlon starts putting Megan's got a monster bench. She's always on point. Like, let's see. Everything can shift by the time it rolls around. But it's interesting right now, the early feeling on all this. And I tell you what, I don't know. I ain't mad at this card at all.
No,
You
no,
could
me either. Like obviously, I would have loved Bob to be there. I would
sure,
have loved for Alexis to be there, but like
sure.
I would have loved for Jessica to be there as well. But like I, this is going to be good. I'm so excited. This is going to be really really cool. And I will say, I hope that people post their training, right? Like so some people post their training all the time. They post all their best lifts. They post some of their back offs. They post their bad days even. And some people are just really really quiet. I hope that people post what they're doing. I hope that people give updates about their body weight. I want to get like I would like to see that because it sort of gets the excitement bubbling in the fans, right? Which is us, right? Like that's you and me as well, right? We want to see what people are cooking up, so we've got an idea of what's coming up. One of the things about powerlifting, which is different from other sports, is that you only compete like maybe if you're Agata, you compete 8 times a year, but like most powerlifters compete like 2 or 3 times a year, right? And so we just don't get to see that much. Like when you watch hockey, say, you get to watch like 20 or 30 games in a season. When you watch,
No, hockey's 82 games a season.
is it 82 games a season? See,
Yeah.
my New Zealander is showing. Sorry, like when you follow hockey, you watch your team play 82 games. We don't get that in powerlifting. So like if you want to keep that like excitement going, I want to see what people are hitting in training. I want to see like what they're thinking about. Like I want to see what they're trying to do. Yeah, and I hope we get to see that.
Good segue. You throw out Agata. Before we do go into Agata and girl power and talk about some of the results in that, which were surprising, there's a couple things that were surprising, but I would echo that, man. I mean, we don't compete enough in powerlifting. There isn't 82 games. You compete 2, maybe 3 times a year. And the same people who don't understand why they don't have the following, don't have the opportunities with sponsorships, et cetera, they don't understand. It's because can you imagine if a hockey team only played 3 times a year? You would be off everybody's mind. They wouldn't even be thinking about you. What are you talking about? So if you look at it that way, make it so you are competing 82 times a year. How do you do that? You stay in front of people's faces. The beauty of powerlifting, your training looks exactly like the actual game's going to be. That's to your benefit. Post your big squat, post your big dead, post your big bench, post it. I promise you, over the course of your career, you're going to be happy because sponsors are watching. Wink, wink. We'll get into Nike later, but this is where you're going. This is where things are going to pop off for you, and doors open for you, and you want to create that following like Russ, Leah. So let's talk about Agata. Girl power just finished, and Agata at 71.7 kilo body weight. That is a water cut away from 69, sir. A water cut away from 69, kind sir. She posted up 627. Now, I remember talking about, is it possible for Agata to move up to 84 in combat with Amanda Lawrence, who I think is the GOAT? And initially, it was like, man, it wasn't, it was just earlier this year, she did 600 kilos at 69. And 600 kilos is still 47 kilos short of what Amanda Lawrence's PB is. But 627? And she's a water cut away from 69? That now she's only 20 kilos away from Amanda. And she's a water cut away from 69. What happens? I don't even need Agata to be 84. What happens if Agata is 80? She might be able to do this. Rory, put this in perspective to me for me. Make this make sense. And am I getting crazy here?
I don't think so. So first of all, Agata competes many, many times a year, and it seems like she does a pretty good job of putting emphasis on things that matter and de-emphasizing things that don't matter, right? Like when you compete 2 or 3 times a year, everything matters, right? Like you want to do well every single performance. And Agata doesn't is like very seasonal, right? Like so some meets she puts a lot of emphasis on and hits a really, really high total, and some meets are just doing a meet and it just like she doesn't need to do these phenomenally huge totals. In saying that, she got the highest good lift points that we've ever seen. She got the highest dots that we've ever seen, dethroning gosh, who was it before? The 74 kilo Austin, dethroning Austin for the highest dots we've ever seen. 127 points. I had it written down here. Where has it gone? 127.35 good lift points. Like, I don't have anything to compare that to, right? Like that's so far ahead of anything else that we're seeing, right? Like the previous best good lift points was also Agata at 124.4. Like she's gone a whole 3 points higher than that, which is like currently the same as the gap between first and 10th, right? Like it's unbelievably good. She's only 7.5 kilos off being the heaviest female bencher ever. Like no matter of weight class, like nothing. At 71 kilos, she's benching 160. Yeah,
Bench rule, by the
I
way.
don't know what else to say. Like
It's a bench rule.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you got your calculator, could she do this? Is this again early days? We'll talk again when we get closer to Sheffield. But could she be the first to win Sheffield back to back? If she's going as a 69, the world record at 69 is 600 kilos. Could she be the first? Let's give her 627. What is the percentage there?
Oh, let me pull out my calculator.
You're the love of my life.
Okay. World record total at 69, 600. And so, sorry, we said 627, yeah?
That's what she just did. And she's a water cutaway.
627 divided by 600. Yeah, that's 104.58. Heck,
You could do this.
Look, even if she did that same total at 76, where the world record total, which is also hers, by the way, is 613, that's still 102.36, right? So, like, she would be in contention for being on the podium or winning with that total as a 76 at 71 kilos.
She might. This is the way Sheffield is with obviously you have to break, it's the percentage in which you break the world record. And usually you could foresee you could become a victim of your own success by smashing that world record, winning Sheffield. Congratulations. But next year, it'll be very difficult. That's actually the bonus of Sheffield. You don't have the same person winning all the time. It keeps reshuffling the deck. Very exciting. Nice. But Agata has a very unique possibility here. She would be the first to win Sheffield back to back under those circumstances.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing that I'm actually looking at here is is it possible that Agata could be the world total record holder in 3 weight classes? Not from the Sheffield, not from the Sheffield, but if she goes like she's the current world record holder at 69, she's the current world record holder at 76. If she spent the next year slowly getting to over 76, probably still under 84, but over 76, can she also be the world record holder at 84?
Yeah, put a pin in that because we're about to dive into that. I
Okay.
want to have a real conversation about that one
Yep.
and all of that. But first, for Sheffield, if she pulls this off, we might not see somebody else do this. Jesus tried
Yep.
back to back. He might win another Sheffield, don't get me wrong. But to do it back to back means you made that jump in significance enough within a year span. A year. Your own world record in a year. Give yourself 2 years, give yourself three. You build, come back. Now you see me and you smash it. I could see someone doing that. But what is the likelihood of even seeing that ever again? That is how special Agata Shitko is. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's a couple of people that I'm looking at who, if they'd been really strategic about it, they maybe could have set that up, right? Like in particular, at this point, I'm looking at Austin, where the world record total before he went and set it at 1 billion kilograms above the current world record total, it was like 800. Since then, Shell hit 815. He could have set it at like 817 or 820 or something, and then come in at 835 and like potentially one, and then the following like that would be for this year, and then for next year he could come in at like 860 or something, right? That would be reasonable. And clearly he's gone, not doing that. I'm just setting the record. I'm making a statement at 839. So that opportunity that door is now closed. To see anyone else do that in any other class, like I can't imagine who it would be. I I don't want to risk doing the commentator's jinx and jinxing it, but like if Shell sets up a really good total at 66 this year, he could set himself up for next year, maybe.
Yeah.
But
If
even
he
that's
like goes
incredibly
kind of
speculative,
easy,
right?
if he goes kind
Yes.
of chill, like don't do
Yep.
800, even if you have it, do
Cruise in at
780.
760 and then hit 800 next year, right?
Crazy.
Like cruise at 760, right?
Yeah.
But like these are very speculative, and like for those things to happen, like we would need dozens of things to happen in exactly the right order over the next like 18 months for that to happen, right? Um, Whereas Agata is here now, like ready to go.
And it also needs to be said, she wasn't cruising. She ain't cruising. She wasn't cruising for 600 and
No,
left kilos on the table for next year. She went all out, hit 600, and still comes back and is already
yep,
27 kilos over that.
yep.
Like Agata is, it's incredible. It's Agata is incredible, dude. I can't get over how special an athlete she is.
Yeah, and like I think this is going to be a really special year for her as well. Like I'm starting to look at the next year's competition schedule, right? Like today here we're talking about Sheffield, which is happening in January, but then like following up from that, World Championships in June, World Games in August, like it's a huge year, and it could just be Agata's year, right? Like we could just about again, I don't want to jinx it too badly, but we could just about like start staking that out already.
So let's talk about her next year because me and her have talked about it. And initially, when I first talked to her after the World Championship, she wasn't going back to 69. And then I told her, Agata, do you realize nobody has ever, neither in the men's side or the women's side, won 3 world titles in 3 weight classes? Never. That's never happened. And no one has also ever won back to back Sheffields. That's never happened. And we don't know if it's going to happen again. If you become the first to win back to back Sheffields, if you become the first to win 3 titles in 3 different weight classes, you got to be the undisputed GOAT. I know GOAT gets thrown around a lot. It's ad nauseum. I get it. This is legit though. Our weight classes in our sport are huge. They're not small. They're big jumps from one weight class to the next. For Agata to possibly win a world title in 3 different weight classes, And the reason why world title's better than world record, and world record will be nice too. You can break world records at if you go to North Americans or Euros, but some of your opposition might not be there. And we know it's easier. At Western Euros broke a world record. There was no opposition is going to push him. It's a lot easier to cruise into a big total. We all know this. You can blow up a local meet to win a world title. Everybody knows what that means. And Agata she's got killers. If she goes to 69, it's Carola Gara, who is a Hall of Famer, World Games champ, multiple weight class champion herself already, in and out of equipment, future Hall of Famer Gara. At 76, Carlina Tongatea, phenomenal lifter herself. And then at 84, and we'll talk about this in a second, a little more deeper, but if she can pull off 84, Rory. Now, before we dive into that 84 little excursion, so I was talking to her about it in the pathway. She said 69 is next year, Sheffield Worlds. Following year, it's the big N boss, Amanda Lawrence, and creating history being the first. Now, what are your thoughts on this? The pathway, two Sheffields back to back, three world titles. Does that make her the GOAT? I mean, I can't even think of another accomplishment that'd be more difficult.
I, I'm probably a little more hesitant to throw out the term GOAT than a lot of people, right? Like, greatest as a superlative. Like, if there's more than one GOAT on your list, unless potentially you're splitting men and women separately, if there's more than one GOAT on your list, like, you just like haven't understood the assignment. And so back to back world titles, multiple weight classes, potentially back to back Sheffield world champion. And she's young as well, right? So she's still only 21. We were talking before about how powerlifters like continue to get better. Like,
21.
powerlifters are like wine, right? Like, she could be 15 years from now and still be getting better. Um, she still hasn't been doing that long yet. And what I really want to see before I want to like throw my superlative at that is, first of all, I want her to do these things, right? Like, at the moment we're speculating a little bit. Like, she's got two world championships at the moment. She's got one Sheffield at the moment. Like, that's the same as Evie Corrigan today. So if she does those things, the other thing that I would probably want to see is a little bit of longevity, right? Like, so she's been really, really good for 2 years. Does that make her the best of all time, or does that just make her a person who had a stellar period? I don't know yet, because we don't know where she's going to end up. So, like, when I'm looking at greatest of all times, I'm looking back at people who have done fantastic performances, not just like for a couple of years or 2 or 3 years in a row, but people who've done fantastic performances for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in a row. So that's what I would want to see before I started saying that. But if she won Sheffield back to back,
And
I'd be really hard pressed.
three weight classes. And let me also remind you this: whom she's facing in those weight classes. She's not winning world titles in a soft year. It'll be
Yep.
Amanda Lawrence, sir.
Yep.
It'll be Amanda Lawrence. This is and then it'll also have been Gara and Leah head to head at Sheffield. It'll also have been Corolla, or sorry, I'm getting all mixed up now. Carlina Tongatea head to head at Worlds. It'll be like you think about the ladies that she's facing head to head, all killers, all time
Yeah,
greats.
she's not doing it the easy way, right? Like, there's definitely some people who move to weight classes to like stay away from people. She's doing the
Yeah.
exact opposite, right? Like, she's going. It's like she's made a list of the people that she thinks are the best powerlifters, and she's like, right, I'm going to beat these people head to head, just to do it, right?
And it's I'm trying to throw this around in my own head. Which one's more impressive? Now you have in the equipped, we see bigger dynasties. Oleg, the 74, had like 17 world championship wins in a row. That's insane. And I think another gentleman had more. I'm not big in the equipped side, but that's insane. However, the weight class divides are so huge in our sport. To win three is, I don't know if it'll ever be done again. It may never be done
Yeah.
again.
I think something that Eric, Dr. Eric Helms has mentioned before, is that at the moment, particularly the women's world records are moving so fast, right? Like, and if you look at the world records of the totals, all but one of them was set in 2024, and the remaining one was set in June of 2023. That was Carola Gara at 63. So like those are moving fast. When we look at sports that are much more developed than powerlifting, right? Like we look at the 100-meter sprint, for example, those world records do still improve, but they improve much, much slower. And so probably what we see over time is that those world records, they do still improve. And we still see this in the men's side, right? Like the world records are still improving, but they improve much more slowly. And so probably what we're going to see is that those world records get proportionately much higher. The rate at which they get broken slows down a lot. And then suddenly to break a world record total, you don't just need to be 4 standard deviations from the mean. You need to be 5 standard deviations from the mean, or 6 standard deviations from the mean, right? Like at a certain point, you just the athletes just need to get freakier and more outlier to break those records.
Now let's talk about the end boss. Amanda Lawrence, 84 kilo queen, twice best lifter at the world championships, has been reigning since 2019 and looks like an unstoppable force. But an immovable object is about to move into weight class. Not yet, not 2025, but 2026 is the timeline. Initially, when Agata was wrestling at 600 kilos, and then even after she won worlds with 613, Amanda Lawrence was like, look, that's good for a 76. But let me be honest with you. If I ever hit 613, I am incredibly upset with myself. And that's the best day you've ever had in your life. Us head to head, kilo for kilo. This isn't a battle. You need a formula. You need a Sheffield style formula or whatever. But head to head, kilo for kilo, 613 is not on my radar. I don't have to worry about this. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. However, at girl power, 627 and the body weight is 71.7. Now it's a bit of a different conversation. She's not, she's got room. To your point earlier, she doesn't have to fill out 84. She could just go to 80. That is 8.3 kilos of body weight. That's almost 20 pounds of body weight. Her total, okay? She could just go to 80. And let's see what happens to her total. And her total, I got news for you. Even if she gained no body weight, by the time 2026 rolls around, that 627 is probably going to be up in the 630 anyways, or 3 kilos away from 630. It's probably, God knows where it's going to end up anyways, let alone just on her natural progression. All of a sudden, we have Amanda in the 640s and Agata in the late 620s, about to enter 630, at water cut away from 69. Now let's talk about this battle. Now you could start to see, oh my goodness, Agata might be that special. And Amanda Lawrence, who's the go-to goats, has a battle coming with a lady she might have 4 to 5 kilos on day of and still be in danger.
Yeah, look, it's still a long way off, right? Like you said, Agata said it's not going to be this year. I keep saying this, right? Like we don't have a crystal ball. We can't gaze into the tea leaves and see what's going to happen 18 months from now. And people have to stay interested, motivated, not significantly injured. All of these things in order for this to come together. But Amanda hasn't gotten stronger in a long time. She has put 1 kilogram on her total since 2021. No, sorry, I lied. She's put 1 kilogram on her total since 2020. Since 2020, Agata has put, hang on, let me find a meet from 2020 to compare. Since 2020, Agata has put 200 kilograms on her total. In 2020, she totaled 435. This just now she totaled, sorry, was it 627.5? She's put 195 kilograms on her total in the same time that Amanda has put 1 kilogram on her total. Now, to be fair, Amanda was already elite at that point, right? Like Amanda was already elite, and Agata was very much up and coming. So I'm really not making a fair comparison. But I am trying to emphasize here that Agata is very, very talented, very, very dedicated, and improving very quickly. Amanda has been elite and at the top of the game for a long time, but she's been stable at the top of the game for a long time, and nobody's really pushed her, and she hasn't pushed as a result, or maybe not, but she hasn't improved very much in that time. And like even individual lifts, right? So like her PB squat was in, her PB squat happened in 2020. Her PB bench, actually her bench PB is recent, and her best deadlift was in 18 months ago. It was the beginning of 2023. So she's getting stronger slowly. It's not really eventuating in larger totals right now. I think she's underappreciating the threat that Agata poses to that 84 kilo crown.
I wonder, and I'll have Amanda on before Sheffield and get her opinion on all this. But I wonder if this is going to light a little something in Amanda Lawrence. She's got time because Agata's not crashing the party next year. It's going to be 2026. But my goodness, if you ever were going to feel some heat, the heat is coming. There's some heat in that kitchen. The oven's on. You got it. There's something baking in there. You need to start hustling and working hard because there's a monster coming. And as a 69, she's already, as a 69, she's the biggest threat you've faced since Daniela Mello. As a 69, you haven't had an opposition like this since Daniela Mello. And Agata as a 69 right now would beat that Daniela Mello that you beat. Like Agata is the great right now, period, without gaining a kilo of body weight, is the biggest threat you've ever faced in your life. That's a fact.
Yeah, look, if this doesn't light a fire under Amanda, I have no idea what would.
Yeah. I can't. It's exciting stuff, buddy. I can't wait to have her on. Let's talk a little bit more about girl power. We also have Nike, and we've been chatting for a while here. I just want to mention Sarah Naldi in the 57s took second in girl power. Her total 515. That's relevant. Natalie Richards won last year's world title in the 57s with 516, and she also took best lifter with that. Naldi now 515. Team Italy has got a shooter. Also relevant, Jad Jacob, the reigning 57 kilo world champion, was also there. Jad Jacob also posted 515. Sarah Naldi went head to head with Jad Jacob, beat her on body weight. Jad weighed in at 58.35, a stitch over, a little over the weight class, probably just didn't weight cut. But not weight cutting didn't save her against a head to head with Sarah Naldi. Team Italy has Gara in the 69s, Chiara Bernardi, who's also a girl power, did a nice 540 in the 63s, and now Sarah Naldi in the 57s. Thank God Naldi dropped down to 57. For a while there, all three of these ladies were in the 63s, and it's like, what is going on here? You're not all going to make the international teams together. You're not all going to worlds. And if you spread out, you might start grabbing world championships, world records, and all types of in all these different weight classes. Sarah Naldi from Italy, an instant threat to both Jad Jacob, who she just faced head up at girl power and beat, and also Natalie Richards when she comes back. This is no longer Jad versus Natalie. This is Jad, Natalie, and Sarah Naldi. And Team Italy as a whole is going to start entering the conversation because Chiara Bernardi is a threat at 63, Sarah at 57, and Carola Gara at 69. I mean, Italy is starting. I'm so happy that these ladies decided to move into different weight classes. Now, when you watch the world championships for 3 days in a row, they're going to have somebody in the running, not just one freaking day. Let's see how they all shake up. They're fighting each other. They're cannibalizing their points here. But what's your impression on this?
I think this is an amazing total and like probably quite a good strategic move for Sarah Naldi. I think the fact that we're now starting to see this proliferation of really good Italian lifters, particularly really good Italian women arriving, I think that this is a good sign, right? Like when you have one lifter come out of a country who is amazing, it's like a bit of an accident, right? When you start having three who are potentially in contention for world titles, podiums, best overalls, even. And now we're starting, of course, this year we're looking at World Games, which is scored on good lift points, not on kilograms. Now we're starting to say, hey, look, something in Italy is starting to produce these really good lifters. And once that flywheel kind of starts, it doesn't stop, right? Like if anything, once that flywheel gets started, it gets better and better over time.
Mm.
It doesn't slow down.
I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is starting to look a little more like when France started rising up.
Yeah. It very much does, doesn't it? And like France is a great example of the flywheel, right? You have, and this is kind of what I mentioned earlier. You see a breakout lifter, and that gives other people permission to be great as well, right? It brings more people into the sport. You have a larger talent base. You see that person in the gym or at the meet, and you go, "Hey, look, this is a regular human who can just achieve amazing things. I can achieve amazing things." And then that starts pushing that population as well.
I am jumping into Sarah's DMs and pushing her to post her recap so I can and telling her if you want to collab or whatever, like let's get some hype here going. Well, I'm dying here. Let's go. She's probably traveling, whatever. I got you. But the Italians got to capitalize. They're phenomenal talent. They don't do nearly as much on the social media side, whereas France does a lot on the social. Like they have social media monsters coming out of France. And in terms of the flywheel you're mentioning, that also helps get other people excited, and they find you, and they're like, "Oh, you're from France. You find this person, and then they bring you in." The Italians, phenomenally talented, got to bring him in a little more. I'm booking Gara. I might book Naldi. Lovely ladies, super nice, but I'm gonna push her and be like, hey, drop the recap, throw in a collab with King of Lifts. I'll help you expand the people that see this, and let's get some excitement going. Or I just straight up repost it because I'm sure my caption's going to be a lot like it's going to be spicier. I'm gonna mention some things that you might be too humble to say and be like, hey, do you know who she beat head to head? Do you know the total she put up and where that stands overall? Blah blah blah. I don't know if Team Italy, these Italian ladies are quite as outspoken as I can be. That's the good thing about Kingless. I could do it for you. It's okay. That's why sometimes I'll take a collab. Sometimes, like, I think I'll write the caption myself. I'm going to say things that you, like, Elba Ballstrom was not saying what I said. When I was like, she decimated the other juniors. We've never seen. She's not going to talk like
Yeah, no,
that.
you've got the excited American voice going on, and everyone else is like sort of being a little bit humble, and then you come in with
Yeah.
the like
Great. I had fun. Right.
oh, everyone
Feel
else had
good.
such a good day, and just like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. God bless. Don't worry. I got you. I'll run with this. So, but anyways, let's also talk about Nike.
Yes. So I've had a little bit of a look into this, and so we're starting to see, and this is kind of cool actually. We're starting to see Nike strength equipment coming out, and so we're seeing sort of what have I found? Plates, barbells, dumbbells, racks, even benches. But digging a little bit deeper into this is actually not Nike HQ that is producing this stuff. It's actually being produced by a subsidiary company called Dimension 6 Fitness, who have a licensing deal with Nike. So they're allowed to put Nike logos on things. And they're allowed to they effectively have the rights to be Nike, but for strength instead of running. And so they're dealing with a company called Precor, who I've never actually heard of before, for distributing this equipment, particularly across North America. And so first of all, what I want to say is I think that this is very exciting. I don't think it's a direct play into the powerlifting market. I don't think that that's
Mm.
what's happening. What I do think, though, is that this has a flow-on effect to strength sports generally, sort of in the same way that when CrossFit exploded in sort of like the early 2010s, even though CrossFit and CrossFit equipment isn't exact, like it isn't powerlifting equipment, even though it looks kind of similar. What we saw was a proportionate explosion in strength sport interest and people participating in strength sports. And so what I suspect this actually is a play into the Nike Strength Studios, and they seem to be popping up all over, particularly North America or maybe just the United States. And they're like a strength training class, right? Sort of similar to an F45 or a CrossFit or something like that. And you can go and do your 1 hour or 45-minute class or whatever it is. And it looks like all of the equipment is going to be Nike branded, your Nike barbell. I will say the Nike barbells do look pretty nice. With your Nike barbells, your Nike plates, so on and so forth. But what I think that's going to result in is more money and more attention flowing into strength sports, right? And so I think that this is ultimately going to be a good thing for us, but it isn't a direct play to sort of come into powerlifting for as sponsors or anything like that. I don't think.
First off, nice research, my friend. Nice research. You told me that you've dove into it and you have done your homework. Hats off to you, sir. Yeah, you know what? Even if they don't do a direct play and they're not trying to, have Nike equipment on IPF World's platforms like we see illegal right now, I do think you're right in that just like when CrossFit got super popular, people got into barbell training. And once you get into the barbell, you're going to have a lot of people being like, CrossFit was fun. Do it for a couple of years. And they're like, what else is out there? And even if they don't come over to powerlifting, they become aware of powerlifting, they're watching powerlifting, they're following powerlifters because our squats trend, it crosses over, deadlifts crosses over, a lot of things cross over. So now we got your viewers, we got followers on people, everyone knows who each other are. So I do think there was some crossover just like that to be had. But holy smokes, wouldn't it be crazy if in 10 years you flip on IPF Worlds and it's all Nike on the platform? It's
Like I
crazy.
think that gap gets less and less over time, right? So powerlifting goes from in the 70s, this like niche sport that happens in like people's literal backyards, to this year classic powerlifting, which is much more popular and accessible than equipped lifting. Equipped lifting is cool. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but classic lifting is just like more accessible, right? Like it's much easier to understand what's going on. We're at the World Games, we're on Eurosport, we're on the Olympic Channel. Nike makes, not exactly powerlifting equipment, but we'll say powerlifting adjacent equipment. Like that gap is sort of getting closer and closer over time. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be Nike, though that would be really cool, right? Like I don't have the numbers, but I would guess that Nike is the biggest sports brand in the world, just off the top of my head.
Think,
But like Nike puts out a barbell and plates and dumbbells and kettlebells. What does Adidas do as a follow up to that? What does Puma do as a follow up to that? Like, does that
yeah.
mean more money going into like the strength sport adjacent space? Like, I think the answer is yes, and like probably not immediately. These are big, slow plays, but that just means more money, more attention. Like you said, people do they do their strength class for a few years, and then flicking through Instagram, they see Russell Orr and they're like, hey, I can squat. I squat all the time. I do it at my class. Wow, that dude just squatted 600 pounds or whatever, or 700 pounds. Like, let me look more into that. Let me have a closer look at that. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. You got to think, you got to capitalize on all these moments because bigger brands are starting to watch. I don't know what's going to happen, even if not directly like I was, their equipment at IPF Worlds, even if not that, if they're making this equipment for overall gym use and not necessarily straight up competition use, if the sport gets bigger and bigger, just like Gymshark has grabbed some of our lifters, Nathaniel Messiah, Crane, and whatever. What if Nike starts making what hears about Sheffield watches and like, holy smokes, and people like a Jesus or Russ or Jurns or whatever start getting phone calls and be like, look, yeah, we're not moving directly into that space, but we need athletes like you, people who look like you. Russ takes his shirt off. He's like, I don't know, dude. Do you think I could sell a barbell? Yeah, 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 yeah. I do. Take your shirt off, kid, and throw this bell or barbell on your back. Of course he can. And the bigger the sport gets, to your point, like Sheffield Worlds, the bigger they get, the more these stars who have like massive followings like Russ. And if a Nike who is moving more and more into the space and they're not dumb, they're going to be paying attention. If they spot someone like Russ, spot someone like Perk, who's incredibly, he's a charismatic kid, good looking kid, crazy what he could do, whatever it is, whoever it is, spot somebody. And they're like, that person can move some product for us. That's where doors will open for athletes as well. If not, like if one guy signs or one of the ladies signs with a Nike, Adidas, Reebok, whatever, now real money's starting to come in. Now everything's starting to change. We'll see. I I, I don't know.
Yeah. Like I'm definitely not looking at this and going, cool, like this is overnight change for powerlifting. It's going to be different tomorrow, right? But it's definitely just it gets closer and closer, right? Like the more people that are strength sport adjacent, the more people that come into strength sports. Like the more money that goes into strength sport adjacent, the more money that comes into strength sports, right? Like this is ultimately good for us, even though they're not signing a paycheck for Austin Perkins yet. Yes.
Yeah, the popularity of barbells and barbell strength training, if all they get into is that side of it, and they blow up barbell strength training and it helps, or the money's flooding in on that side, we'll collect the athletes that they bring in that make popularizes barbells. That's great. Why do you think all of these world records are falling and the standard in powerlifting is shooting up so crazy? And we've got people like Agata Shitko doing what she's doing. We'll bring them over. Yeah, convert them. Make it cooler and cooler to be grabbing these barbells. Help push it. Go gen pop like Nike and start pushing on that level. Perfect. Even if it does nothing more than popularizing people going to the gym, smashing weights with a barbell, specifically a barbell, specifically going in that route like that, we are going to see more and more freaks get underneath the barbell and then be like, I need to compete. And we're going to find you. That also will happen.
It's totally a population thing, right? Like the reason these records increase is it's like a pyramid, right? Like the more people who are at the base of the pyramid, the more people going to the gym and training with a barbell, the more people start competing. The more people start competing, the more people fall in love with competing. The more people who fall in love with competing, the more people push it to a high level, right? And so on and so forth up this pyramid. And so something like this, like Nike making a real push for like Nike strength, this is going to be fantastic for us.
Agreed, buddy. I'm excited. So anyways, when's the next time we see you? Let's do this podcast more often. You're a full-time coach right now. First off, Correct. Are you taking clients? I should have hit this off at the beginning.
I'll be taking new clients beginning in November. So we're recording this sort of towards the end of October. Only a couple of weeks away. I will be opening my books for new clients. Yeah.
Perfect. We're going to be doing some more of these, Playboy?
Yeah, let's do it. I was going to say I'm available all the time. I'm available all the time for you.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate you. All right. Perfect, my man. Well, thank you for jumping on this podcast. We had a lot to talk about, and I think a lot's going to be going on. So we'll be doing more of these update ones and stay in touch. And until next time, everybody, as per usual, please do subscribe, give us high ratings. Pack Lapadat, 6 up, and we are up.